and boom goes the dynamite.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington, bringing you the latest lacrosse news from the NLL to the PLL to the PBLA and much more. And we've got some news today. So as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because if you're missing out on what we're talking about each day, you're missing out. FOMO, you should have it, because we're bringing you the latest. We are predicting things. And also, we have some great guests that are joining us each week. So before we get into our breaking news stories around the trades in the NLL, also want to let you know we do have a great guest coming on. Joining us from the Mammoth, Dylan Kinnear is going to be on the show later today. We also are going to be getting into our top 5, giving our power rankings here on Daily Dive. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome in producer Mike as we get into breaking news out of Buffalo. The Bandits have traded Thomas Vaesen to Albany. And in that trade, Albany has included Adam Bomberry. So a trade coming across the news desk here as the Bandits trade Thomas Vaesen for Adam Bomberry. With that trade, Albany Bandits with a big trade. I don't even know what to make of this, Mike. What are your thoughts as this trade has happened? And what are your thoughts about the fact that we've seen trades pretty much every day now, including one that we will highlight in just a moment here on Daily Dive?
Hey, the rich get richer. Adam Bomberry is the name that sticks out to me in that trade. And it's interesting that these two teams made a trade, considering both of them are I'd say have championship aspirations, considering how good Albany has looked, and obviously how good Buffalo always looks. So this is a very interesting trade that they did make this. And like you said, for trades coming across the wire every day, makes for a good show. It also makes for some interesting things to look at with these teams. I think Buffalo won this trade first off, foremost. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Buffalo did draft Thomas in the first round of the 2021 draft. He was the 14th pick, and he's a young player. Adam Bomberry, we've seen much more of him in the NLL over the years. I think I agree with you on that. For a player that can make more of an immediate impact, it's bombs away. Bomberry, I think, is that guy, Mike. So our other top story presented by the Daily Dive store. Be sure to check out the link in our bio to see the merch that we are selling. Callum Crawford, major news, traded to Panther City. I was actually pumping gas when I got that news and nearly dropped the handle because I was just in shock. If it wasn't for the cold outside that woke me up, continue pumping gas and then read more in the car in the warmth, because I immediately was reading the news on my phone out of shock. The Riptide in this trade received 3 players and 3 picks. Kevin Orleman, the goalie, who has a 2-5 career record with just around that 72 save percentage, brother of Steve Orleman, who's also a goalie on the team. So we also saw Colton Lidstone get moved in that trade. He was selected 21st overall in the 2022 draft from Robert Morris, where he scored 10 goals and had 8 assists. And then we also saw 47th overall pick in the 2022 draft, Petey LaSalle, native of Miller Place, New York, who played for Virginia, holds a UVA record for career faceoff wins, as well as a 2024 and 2025 second-round pick and a fourth-round pick in 2023. Holy smokes! Callum Crawford to Panther City. The Riptide get a boatload of picks and players. A sock trick, I guess we could call this, of a draft.
I like
wow,
that.
Mike. What surprises you most about this trade?
That is such a big name came from New York. Obviously, they're going to have a new GM, or they already do. I forget. But obviously, they made a front office trade. The team is not doing very good. And it's interesting. But I have another. First of all, great job for those Panther City players, going to a young team. I wonder if they're going to build around Jeff Teat still in New York. I mean, I think you should, obviously, but it's just, if we're going to trade away Callum Crawford, I mean, yeah, he's 38 years old, but he was your all-time leading scorer for the 3 years that you've been a franchise. Now Jeff Teat's right behind him, but it's a thought to consider. No one is safe when you're losing.
It is not safe out here, for sure. It makes me think of the gif from years ago, like hide your kids, hide your wives, like going after everybody out here. Hide your players, hide your leading goal scorers because nobody is safe. As you mentioned, Callum Crawford, all-time leading scorer for the Riptide, 45 goals, second on the team with 97 points. He's 10th all-time in career points. When you talk about at 38 years old, he's been with 10 different teams in the course of his career, 7th all-time in assists. The numbers he's put up are remarkable, and he's still playing great lacrosse. And he has been one of the consistent of the Riptide's roster. And we've talked about this season right now for some teams not getting the results they want, looking to make some moves to plan for the future. And this is absolutely a move for the future. You pick up 3 players that are all very young, drafted recently. You pick up 3 actual draft picks. So now you're looking ahead to the future. What's next for New York based off of this? You talk about building around Jeff T. Are they forgetting about this season and just think on rebuild mode? Or is this an opportunity to start getting some chemistry on field with these young players and looking ahead to now add some more draft picks? What are your thoughts on what's next and kind of the focus up for the Riptide at this point of the season?
The fact that 2 of them have not played this year shows me that, like, I think they're going to use them. Like the the PD Lasaya guy, like when you break records in Virginia, it's like at Maryland, like those are really good lacrosse schools. And I like to think he's going to play. I don't think a first round pick is going to play as well, or at least a 4th round pick is going to play. We're going to see, but I do wonder if Dan Lattisour, the head coach, how long he's going to stay. I know I like him, but if they continue to not show improvements, will he get the axe as well? Because a new regime, anything could change.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It definitely makes you wonder what else lies ahead in terms of changes. We've seen a lot from the Riptide, firing of their GM, changes, trades. There's been a lot going on, not getting the results they want. So seems like there's more that will be happening in New York. We'll definitely keep an eye on that as well as we're working through it and continue to follow along with how the Riptide, as well as all the teams, are working through this season and preparing to put a great product on the field now and in the future as well. Well, there's a team that right now has been celebrating, and that's been a championship they've been celebrating from last year. So excited to have on our big guest of the show, Dylan Kinnear, joining us in just a few moments, Colorado Mammoth player, to shine a light on a team that's not in a rebuild mode, but coming off of a title, enjoying it, and hoping to run it back again this year. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our guest for the show, Dylan Kinnear, right here on Daily Dive. back to Daily Dive. I am not Dylan Kinnear or a 2022 NLL champion, but I'm Renee Washington, host of Daily Dive. And we're going to actually take a quick pause before we get into bringing Dylan on and hoping that we can get him on the show, working through some ops issues there. Let's get into our power rankings presented by B-Res Coffee. Our Daily Dive game of the week is the Buffalo Bandits at the Rochester Nighthawks. And so I feel like it's fitting that we also talk about our top 5 teams, since both of us have these 2 teams in our top 5. Wow. The moment we've all been waiting for. The Bandits facing the Nighthawks this upcoming weekend, without a doubt, a Daily Dive game of the week. And Mike, I'm going to actually let you go first with sharing your power rankings, your top 5 in the order that you have them, starting with, of course, the number 5 team.
Dome. Drum roll, please. Okay. Number 5, right. Number 5, I've got the slouching and sliding San Diego Seals. I can't get behind them. You can't go down 5-0 to good teams. It worked against the Riptide. Well, obviously not 5-0, but it worked against teams like the Riptide, but you can't keep doing that. Number 5. They're still in the top 5. Number 4, the Saskatchewan Rush. They dropped 2 spots from me because I feel like, yeah, they lost to a good team in the Mammoth, but they don't have it. I'm not as high on them now as I was before. Number 3 are those Colorado Mammoth. They have looked really good since adding Reese Dutch. Terrific signing by them. Number 2, Rylan Hartley and the Rochester Nighthawks. Connor Fields, the whole crew. They're really good, but strength of schedule, which we'll get to later on or tomorrow, is not the best for them. But number 1, the Buffalo Bandits. Of course, they just added Adam Bomberry as to a squad that's already got a big 3, as I label them. Buffalo Bandits are my number 1 team.
Woo! Cue the applause. So my top 5, here's a positive. I've got the exact same 5 teams as you, just in a different order. I think at this point of the season, I'm pretty sold. I've been having an honorable mention every week, every time we do this, because I just haven't seen enough. But I've seen enough now. As we had an incredible week 7, it was very eye-opening. Now, if I had to give an honorable mention, which I said I was not going to, Albany's making a good case. They're closing the gap. They're a team that I could see maybe cracking a top 5. But right now, my top 5 is I'm confident with this. I actually have the Saskatchewan Rush at number 5. I think the Rush are a team that I wonder, can they maintain this the rest of the season? Started off strong, I agree with you. Had them much higher. At one point, they were a top 2 or 3 team for me. I worry that Saskatchewan, we may have seen their best lacrosse of this season so far. Consistency is so important. I mean, not even just within a game, but within a season, that you have to be able to consistently close out, get the results that you want. So my first issue with them that puts them at number 5 is that consistency. The San Diego Seals at number 4 for me, simply because, and what kept them from number 5 is they are 4-1. That says a lot. It's not easy to win games. But I am concerned about the fact that they've struggled consistently to play from start to finish. And looking at them go down 5-0 against Calgary, like we talked about earlier this week, you cannot afford to be a championship caliber team in this league if you are going to have maybe 1 games like that or 2 games like that, because you're human. But it can't be consistently where against the Warriors, against the Rush, against the Roughnecks, we're seeing stretches where they're unable to score or unable to hold their opponents scoreless. Concerning. So I think they've got to solidify some things defensively, and then they're a top 2 teams offensively. They're a top team for sure. I'm going to keep the Mammoth at number 3, as you did as well. I think right now they are right there in the mix. They've had some excitement over the last couple of weeks, obviously being able to knock off Saskatchewan in a thrilling game, but also getting the championship rings, raising the banner, Reese Dutch eclipsing that 1,000 mark for career points. Just a lot of excitement going on around Colorado right now, and I think this team is legitimately a true championship contender, and I have yet to see anything to tell me otherwise. I just don't think right now, and I know that we have Dylan Kinnear who's going to be joining us, so I hate to even not have them at number 1, but they're not number 1 or 2 for me. The Bandits still sit at the number 2 spot, in my opinion. I have flip-flopped from you because I love the big 3. I think that they are doing a tremendous job offensively leading Buffalo. I wonder how much teams have them maybe. You can have them figured out, doesn't mean you can stop them. So let me clarify that. But I think that the Bandits still might be missing a little bit right now. The difference that I have from them to the Nighthawks is the Nighthawks are undefeated. You can't argue with that. Like, at the end of the day, as you know, people that are analyzing the game and covering the games and following the league, you can say strength of schedule, but once you step between the lines, it's lacrosse. And if you're finding ways to win games and you're finding ways to maintain that undefeated status, that says a lot about you as a team. So for me, regardless of who they have beaten, they're winning and being able to close out games. And we've seen teams that have struggled against Vancouver at times or against whoever. And these are professional athletes. Regardless who you're playing, it's going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a tough game to win. So when your team is winning by committee the way they're doing, when your team is finding ways to get victories, you and my boat are a top team. Until someone can knock you off that spot and beat you, the Rochester Nighthawks are still my number 1 team in the league. So I think the Bandits absolutely are making a case for number 1. The Mammoths making a case for number 1. But there's only one undefeated team in the NLL right now. And so they are sitting at the top of the standings and sitting at the top of my power rankings until proven otherwise. You are number 1 until proven 2. Okay? So we do get a chance to see them take that test this weekend. I'm excited for that game. I am. When you think about all that we've seen so far this season, we finally get to see what looks like right now the 2 top teams facing off as the Bandits face the Nighthawks in our Daily Dive game of the week. I know we'll get into predictions more tomorrow, Mike, but initially, what are you most looking forward to? What has you most excited about this matchup?
How good can Rylan Hartley be against a team that's going to pepper the nets? That's my thing. Like, I love what Rylan Hartley's done, but if he is a top goalie in the NLL this year, it's going to be a fun time against this Bandits team. Like, can they make this game ugly? Because to me, it has to be ugly if you're Rochester. You can't get into a shootout with Dane Smith and Josh Byrne and DeHilga Nanacoke and the crew. So it's going to be interesting. I also want to know if Adam Bomberry was traded in time to play. Good defender. We'll see what happens, though.
That's a great point. This might be, I definitely expect this to be a very good game. This is going to be a huge test. You know, you have a Bandits team that has a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of big names. You have a Rochester Nighthawks team, and that came into the season as more of an underdog with no expectations on them. That's surprising people, and that's finding ways when you look across the roster from Rylan Hartley forward to just step up in big moments and find ways to win. So this is a huge test for both teams. I'd love to see Adam Bomberry on the field. I hope that works out in terms of the timing, but we shall see. So hopefully we've got Dylan ready to join us. Either way, we're going to take a quick break. We've got more to come here on Daily Dive, more to dive into and uncover that's going on around the NLL as we are recapping Week 7 and looking ahead to the excitement of Week 8. Stay tuned.
and boom goes the dynamite.
Welcome back to Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington. We've been discussing here with myself and producer Mike the top fives, in our opinion, our power rankings, as we have had a chance to see a lot so far this season. We've also had a chance to share the breaking news around the trades. Every day there has been some great trades that have happened. Teams are right now going back to the drawing board. We are in the drawing board period. It's a time you've seen what your team looks like on the field. You've seen what other teams look like. You see where you are in standings. You all have an end goal in mind of wanting to be a championship team, or at least getting into the playoffs and having a postseason run. How can you get there? Well, teams are trying to find a way to make that happen. And we saw the trade that came out Wednesday. Callum Crawford traded to Panther City, and the New York Riptide are going to receive 3 players and 3 picks through that trade. And then also the Buffalo Bandits trade with the Albany Firewolves. Adam Bomberry traded with Thomas Vason. So a swap there of some defenders, some players. And now, although we were hoping to be able to have a chance to have Dylan Kinnear on the show, Dylan was on the show in December as we had a chance to talk about the excitement around winning a championship, what's going on in Colorado. We'll definitely have him on again in the future. But due to some technical issues, we're going to press forward and break down the strength of schedule. We've hinted at it, especially in our power rankings. Right now, there are some teams that may be getting questioned about their standings and their record and their results. I personally, as a former athlete myself, a win is a win. I don't care who you're beating. It's never easy. You're playing the top. You're playing the best. And regardless if someone is 0-4 or 4-0, or in this case now 5-0, a win is a win is a win. Okay, so let's take a look at the strength of schedule. Very interesting when you look at these numbers. So, Mike, I want you to actually break this down for us, what these numbers mean. We have every single team, the strength of their schedule by opponent's win percentage. Georgia right now, as well as the Riptide, the 2 teams that have the hardest schedule to date heading into week 8. And so in order, it's Georgia, New York, Saskatchewan, and Albany are the top 4 toughest schedules. And then at the bottom 4, interesting enough, San Diego at number 12, tied for 13, Rochester and Buffalo. And then the Wings have what is being considered the easiest schedule so far to date. So it's very interesting when you look at this, that the teams that we have right now at the top of the standings, the top of the power rankings, 3 of those teams, San Diego, Rochester, and Buffalo, on paper have the worst, easiest schedule, I guess is what you would call it. Their opponents have the worst win percentage. But I'm going to throw it to you first, Mike, because I have thoughts on this. I have thoughts. You go in, jump in. What are your thoughts on these numbers? You pulled them. You've got the numbers, don't lie. But what are your thoughts on this?
The Swarm may not be as bad as we think, considering they've played some juggernauts. Obviously, a 79% win percentage by their opponents tells you that. As for San Diego, Rochester, and Buffalo, you ever seen a cupcake emoji?
No.
I mean, San Diego, if we haven't even played like the good teams yet in San Diego, and we're allowing all these runs, what's going to happen when the tough gets going and the going gets tough? I'm just wondering. Like, this is, it's something to look at as take the first 5 games with a grain of salt. Obviously, some teams have played 4, some have played 6, but most are in the 5-game range. I'd like to think that Calgary, who almost made my top 5, is better than I think they are. Because they're like a team with like a good record, and they're like number 5.
I was going to say, I feel like what this brings out is that there may be some teams, Albany, Calgary, possibly even Toronto or Halifax, that they're not in that top 5 right now in power rankings, but a team that is, their record is not a complete reflection of their talent. You know, I think the other thing we have to keep in mind is Rochester is a great example. You are undefeated. So your win percentage is higher than everybody you play. And so technically, mathematically, your opponents should have a significantly lower win percentage than you because you're undefeated.
That's a
Buffalo,
good
the
point.
same thing. So I feel like these numbers do make sense. But the other thing is, like, Buffalo and Rochester play this weekend for the first time. San Diego hasn't played either of them as well. Like, they haven't played each other. So as the top teams in the league, and you've played the middle and the bottom teams in the league, your strength of schedule on paper is going to look worse than everybody else. But at the end of the day, you're still winning games. So I get this. But if you want to be a top team in the league, you have to beat all the teams in the league. You've got to be able to knock off whether it's the number 1 team or the number 6 team in the conference. You've got to find a way to beat everybody. So it just, to me, shows who is able to go into those tough games and walk away victorious. And right now, it's not Georgia, the Riptide, the Rush, the Firewolves as much. It's Rochester, Buffalo, San Diego. They're finding ways to win. So I don't know. Maybe that could be it too, Mike, that we'll have to keep an eye on, especially as we get into these next stretches of games over the upcoming weeks where we have some of these top teams facing each other.
Woo!
So as you said, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and the tough have a chance to get going as soon as this weekend with some of the top teams, including Buffalo and Rochester, settling the debates. The test is being handed out, and we'll see what the results are. So we do have to give our predictions. I am so excited to give our predictions tomorrow because this is a weekend that's, first of all, going to be a chance for me to move ahead in our back and forth of picks, but also a chance for us to dive into these matchups in much more detail. So thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Daily Dive. We've had a chance to talk about the trades. We've had a chance to talk about strength of schedule by opponent's win percentage, as well as give our power rankings. And Friday, we're going to get into our predictions and picks leading into week 8. So more to come here. Be sure to give us a follow along social media at Daily Dive Lax. Be sure to tune in each and every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you more. Be ready to come commenting and adding questions and thoughts as we give our picks ahead of the week. So from my producer, Mike, I'm Renee Washington saying so long from Daily Dive, and we'll see you back here to dive into more lacrosse tomorrow. Bye, guys.